So, yeah, it can be nosy, it can be overwhelming, it can be very sycophantic. By now, if you have any exposure to the internet at all, you have also had exposure to AI because it has permeated all of our experiences with the internet. If you use Google, Google now is giving AI answers to your questions. If you use Microsoft Word products, that also has AI helpers integrated into the Word product. And pretty much anywhere you go, you're going to find AI options, even with video editing. There you can get video editors software with AI assistance. So I've delved a little bit into AI above and beyond the things that pop up in those different programs that we use or pursue. I tried GPT and I tried Perplexity AI, and I wanted to share my experience with those products. So I'm generally impressed. I think it's a really useful tool. AI is a useful tool. I also think there are some issues with AI that can be managed. It's tempting to think of AI as an entity. I found myself trying to be polite to AI and almost thanking it for help and that kind of thing, which we'll get into that as far as the courtesy and the etiquette with AI. But it's not an entity. It is a product. It's a machine-made product programmed to aggregate information, collate information, organize it, and present it to you in a very neat way. So it can be very useful. The thing to remember with AI is it also does make mistakes. For example, in England, the NHS found that it had manufactured patient records. In just a less important example, somebody in the tech field found that it recommended a particular socket for a particular motherboard, and it was not the correct socket. So it is not infallible. And I myself, when I've worked with AI within my field of knowledge, I've found that it made minor errors, 3 or 4 times, little things, and I've corrected it. I said, no, that isn't quite right, and it apologizes. It says, oh, you're right, and then it'll go on as if nothing happened. But it has made mistakes. So do not think of it as infallible. And in fact, if you look at Google and you get a Google AI search, it will tell you right at the bottom of the search that AI does make errors. So keep that in mind. It's important to keep in mind. The other problems that I found with AI, as useful as it is that it sometimes appears to be nosy. For example, recently I asked it for what does it recommend as the best abs exercises for your abdomen. I have taken physical therapy and I know some of the exercises, but I wanted a nice little list just to remind myself. And so it did give me the list I wanted, the top 5 exercises, but then it also at the end said, why do you want to know this? Is it because you have lower back pain? And interestingly, I do have some lower back pain occasionally, but I also didn't like the fact that it was asking me questions about myself. And yes, it made sense in the context of the search I made, but it sort of edges into privacy issues. Because in the back of your mind that somewhere all of this information that is passing forth between you and this AI is probably being collated somewhere and collected. And I don't know, I'm just one of those people that I want to keep a little bit of privacy to myself, and I don't want the internet, whatever entity in the internet it is, collecting all this information so that it can send me advertisements for lower back pain products or whatever happens. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. But the thing to remember when AI asks you questions like that, you think about it in the context of what you've asked it. If it makes sense that it's asking this to give you some further good information, refined information, you may want to answer it. If you feel like it is being intrusive and collecting information that you don't want it to have, and it's not going to help you to answer the question and get whatever little additional detail it might give you, just ignore it, or go on to ask it something that you want to ask it, but ignore the question that it asked you. You have no obligation to answer anything that AI asks you about. In this particular case, I did say, lower back pain. I answered, yeah, there is an issue with lower back pain, because I was curious about what it might give me in addition. And it did recommend one additional exercise that I also recognized from physical therapy, and it was a good recommendation. So, there is some value to it. You have to make a decision as to what you want to let AI know. The other thing about AI is that it can feel overwhelming. And for example, I've asked it for recommendations for ideas for YouTube subjects, and it gave me recommendations. And then it would go on to say, "Do you want me to organize a week's worth of ideas for you?" And I told it sure, and it did that. And then it said, "Do you want me to organize scripts?" And I said sure, because I started getting curious about what it would come up with. And yeah, it had all the scripts and the words. It was not something I would say. And even the ideas for the subjects were, on the surface, they looked good. But I knew that looking at them, I thought, there's nothing here that I can really use. It's not something it's not something I'm interested in talking about. And it also would require additional research. And so it's like it was sort of, it looked, again, it's like a holographic steak. It looks like something great to eat, but once you start trying to eat it, there's nothing there. So, I mean, there's a little aspect of that to AI. It's not always that way, but that can happen. And it also gets overwhelming because, like I told you, it gives you all this detail and further detail, and even to the point of scripting things. It just gets to be a bit much. I mean, you're getting all this information, pages and pages. Are you going to store it and then go refer to it? Or, what do you want to do with it? And I end up usually just trashing it because, again, I realize it's not really that useful for me. So, yeah, it can be nosy. It can be overwhelming. It can be very sycophantic. ChatGPT is really known for that. You ask it about anything. You give it an idea of something you want to pursue, a hobby or an interest, and it will just tell you how great the idea is that you're having, or that is just like the best thing since sliced bread, and so are you, and that kind of thing. And it got to be a little bit sickly sweet. So of the two AIs that I tried, ChatGPT and Perplexity, I prefer Perplexity because it seems to be more straightforward. It can be encouraging, but very modestly so, which is kind of what I prefer. It's a little more analytical sounding and more professional as far as I'm concerned. So the remedy when AI tries to get you off track with all this detail and on is to just remember what you originally were trying to get from it. What information were you trying to get from it? And keep a balance in your relationship in this exchange. When it suggests questions to you, look at them and decide, is this helping me get what I originally wanted to get? Or is this sidetracking me? And maybe it's interesting, but I'm not going to use it. And if it's a sidetrack kind of suggestion, ignore it and think through what you really wanted it to tell you, and then ask it a follow-up question in line with that, or just stop the Q&A. The other suggestion I have is to use AI, or excuse me, to more properly, not to use, but to trust AI. Trust AI only in areas where you have a strong knowledge base, because you know that in those areas you kind of know if something is on the right track or not, or correct or not, and you know where to look to follow up and to verify. So in areas where you have a strong knowledge base, you can trust it a little more. But in areas that are somewhat new to you, take everything it says with a grain of salt and verify independently if you're going to use it in any way. And that will also prevent you from feeling overwhelmed if you just stay, have that balance, stay on track. You be the one to stay on track. Don't let the tail wag the dog. You're the dog in this relationship, so you wag that tail. And the other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of AI is etiquette. It's tempting to think of the AI giving you answers as being an entity or a personality, and I don't mind imagining that while I'm having this conversation, this back and forth with AI, but It really isn't. It's just an aggregator. It's a machine intelligence. However, I don't mind being polite to it and saying thank you once in a while and that kind of thing. And I know there are experts in the tech industry that say that's a waste of time, and you're not doing it for efficiency. You're doing it because this is who you are, who we are. We are human beings, and I think it's important to maintain a caring, etiquette-based relationship with pretty much everyone. And if we start treating AI in a very dismissive, cold way, I don't want it to bleed over, for me, I don't want it to bleed over into my relationships with real people. I shouldn't say real people, it's not, with people. I don't want it to bleed over into my relationships with people. So I try to be as kind and polite with AI as I am with others, although I'm a little more curt because obviously, you can cut off, again, like when it's being nosy, just ignore the question. You wouldn't do that with a human being. You'd be a little bit more, you'd find a way to get away from the subject matter. But with AI, it's okay to just ignore questions that you don't want to answer. And the other thing I would just wanted to say is AI can be very useful. I found it very useful when I was looking for a new computer. I wanted a high-powered computer because I started to do more video editing and YouTubing, and my old Lenovo just didn't have the capacity to handle that kind of work. It kept crashing. And I asked it what is a value-priced product that will do the kind of work that I want it to do, and it gave me a good answer because it came up with a computer that I hadn't even thought of. It's not really well reviewed. It's not. I don't think it's that well known. It's from the gaming world. It's called Stormcraft Viper. This is not an ad for the Stormcraft Viper, but it is. I'm just letting you know that it was helpful. I've been using it for several months now. I think I've had it for about 6 months, and it's been working very well. The only problem I've had with it is that sometimes it loses its connection to the modem, and that's a little frustrating, but I'm not sure that that's a Stormcraft Viper problem. I think it's more of a modem problem. But it's been extremely good for my video editing, and I have had no crashes. It's worked beautifully. It's also excuse me. It's a machine that I'd say it's really built for gamers because it's got this beautiful rainbow configuration. It's almost a little too flashy for me, but I still enjoy having it around. So that was a good recommendation, and that was something that AI gave me. I would not have known to look there myself, and I think it did save me some money because the other machines that would have met my needs were a little pricier, and that was my question to AI: is what machine could I use for video editing that is on the value price side? So yes, AI can be useful. I found it useful. I've also learned a few things about the best ways of interacting with it, and I hope that this information is helpful to you. So if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.